Afternoon, YouTube. Come on in here. Afternoon, YouTubers. Come on in. Blessings, and more blessings to you. Afternoon, YouTubers. Come on in. Blessings, and more blessings to you. Let me know where you're from as you come on in. Blessings to you. Blessings. Let me know where you're from as you come in, YouTube. Come on in. Quickly. Come on in. Blessings to you. Come in. Stockton, California, Maryland, Orlando, Florida. Good. Florida again. Detroit, Michigan. I see you. Charlotte, North Carolina. Good. Bahamas. Puerto Rico. Georgia. Blessings to you. Pontiac, Michigan. Greensboro, North Carolina. South Africa. Good. Romania. Lakeland, Florida. Blessings to you. Come on in and say good afternoon. All right. Come on in, everybody. Just a reminder as you come in, let's begin to hit the share button. As you come in, share. Let's begin to share quickly. Just a reminder for you to register for the Hope for the City Conference, Atlanta. Hope for the City Conference, Atlanta. It's happening March 7th through the 9th. And so if you've been inspired, encouraged by the Word of God through our ministry, you can start registering for the conference. It's going to be open until March. But I do want to tell you that the tickets are going very fast. And so the sooner the better for you. But you can go when you're ready to thehopenation.com and you can register. Again, you can go to thehopenation.com and register. The Hope for the City Conference Atlanta, that's happening March 7th to the 9th, is a conference that I put together for what I would like to call the Davids, people that have been overlooked, misunderstood, considered to be a misfit, black sheep. People really just never had time for you. They looked over you. If you know that fits you and that's you, then you need to be at this conference. And it's happening March 7th through the 9th, Hope for the City Conference, Atlanta. And registration, you can go to thehopenation.com and you can get your ticket. Thehopenation.com. Thehopenation.com and you can register. All right. All right. I need you guys to type and then share today. Type it and share. My release date is January 1st. My release date is January 1st. Come on. My release date is January 1st. My release date is January 1st. Okay? Quickly, YouTube. My release date is January 1st. Okay? I don't know about you all, but I think the 1990s had the best R&B music. We can agree to disagree, but I want to venture to say that I think that the 1990s had the best R&B music. You had 112, huh? Jagged Edge, Drew Hill, Usher, Genuine, Aaliyah. Come on here, somebody. 702, Case, Joe. Do we need to go on? Ah, we had, I believe, the best R&B music in the 90s. Jodeci. Shut your mouth up. I mean, we had some hits. And many of you who grew up in the 90s would understand that if you wanted to get a new album, we did not have any type of streaming service. So you had to actually manually go to the CD store and wait in line. If there was a CD coming out that you wanted, Sam Goody, Circuit City, Best Buy, they had them CDs for you. And many of you would line up in anticipation waiting for an album you've been hearing about for at least a whole year because it was a release. Because each store had a certain units of copies that they could release. If they ran out, they just ran out and you had to wait or go somewhere else until they got your album in. Faith Evans, that was another one. The Lord says, so it is in the natural as it is in the spirit. That in 2024, many are going to be waiting in line to receive what God has placed in you. Joseph has been in prison for a very long time. He has been undervalued and overlooked, but God has a purpose and a plan behind it all. And once while Joseph was in prison, the cupbearer and the baker came to him and says, hey man, we had a dream and we want to know if you can interpret our dream. Joseph interprets the dream and says, I only got one requirement. Remember me when you get out. And in verse 12, Pharaoh starts having some bad dreams. And the cupbearer is reminded in verse 12 and says, and now a young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams and he interpreted them to us, giving each man the interpretation of our dream. Point one. I produced some of my best music in bondage. I produced some of my best music in bondage. I produced some of my best music in bondage. I want many of you to understand that some of your best work came when you were locked up. Locked up with a bad relationship, locked up with no money, locked up with bad health, locked up with the wrong friends, locked up with no support. See, it's when, and it's only when things are stripped away when you have to learn how to be creative. And Joseph learned how gifted he was when he shut off and when he was shut off from the rest of the world. What's really interesting about many of you listening is that many of you produced with no money, no support, no help, no kiss, no hug, no thank you, nobody being considerate of you, and you still kept producing. Well, Pastor Dwight, I got a problem with you. I got a problem with you, Pastor, because I don't write music and I don't play music. So how does this apply to my life? I would have ventured to say that your life is nothing but music, because your life has a rhythm. See? It has a rhythm. And no matter what comes along, your life still has a rhythm. Bad breakup won't affect your rhythm. No money doesn't affect your rhythm. Complaints, sickness, still doesn't affect your rhythm. Because the steps of a good man or woman are ordered by the Lord. Has a rhythm, has a flow, has a rhythm, has a flow, has a rhythm, has a flow, has a rhythm, has a flow. Your challenge is not to let anybody stop your rhythm. And stagnation, the word stagnation means to block the flow or blocked drains. And the reason a lot of you haven't really sensed, haven't really felt, haven't really heard the rhythm is because it's been blocked by the wrong people. But you've been producing your best music in bondage. You didn't know how great you were until everything was taken away. But God never allowed it to stop the rhythm of your life, because he ordered your steps. Your life has a rhythm and you produce some of your best music in bondage. Some of the greatest things that ever come out of you are going to happen when you're in a dark place being developed, the rhythm. The rhythm. And verse 13 says, and things turned out exactly as he interpreted them to us. I was restored and the other man was impaled. You ready for point 2? Here it is. Point 2. People have been falling in love with your mixtape. People have been falling in love with your mixtape. People have been falling in love with your mixtape. People have been falling in love with your mixtape. Let's go. I have not even been released yet, but I released some underground prophecies. Joseph has not been released, but there's been some underground prophecies that have been released. Somehow, his underground prophecies got out, and people started to realize that God is with this boy and that his prophecies come to pass. And I want to tell you, what people don't understand about you is it's hard to conceal greatness, because greatness has a way of getting out without any marketing. If they have fallen in love with your mixtape, then what do you think they're going to do when you release your fully recorded album? I want you to understand how anointed and how gifted you are, that people have fallen in love with just snippets of you. They haven't even heard all of you, but just a snippet, a mixtape, a smaller version of what you really can do got released, and they fell in love with it. This is why there are a lot of people that don't want you to get into the circle, because they said if they're doing that on a mixtape, then they're going to change the world when they release their fully recorded album. In other words, what you're doing now, you're doing it in the dark with no exposure. None. And the only exposure you've had is from other people. No exposure. And with no exposure, you're already changing the world. With none. Come here. Just imagine when God pulls a curtain back and says, now you can get the full album. Y'all ain't ready for me. Now you can get all of them. And they've been falling in love with your mixtape. Just half of a prophecy doesn't shake up the world. Half of your song, half of your business got started. Half of you encouraging folk. They're falling in love with just half of you. My God, what they gonna do with the other 50? It's amazing how God can give people a glimpse of you. For those of you listening to me, hear me clearly. Your life is a trailer, a glimpse, a trailer, a glimpse, a snippet of what's going to happen for you in the future. And there are a lot of things that encapsulate the glimpse, the snippet, the trailer, that are preparing people to receive you. That's what they got of Jesus. The last 3 years of his ministry was only 3 years. They just got a snippet, a glimpse, a trailer. And he changed the world because they could not handle all of him. So he said, I ain't going to give you all 33 years, but I will give you 3. I give you 3, man. I give you 3. I give you 3 years. A mixtape. Because that's going to be enough. Finally, in verse 14, it says, so Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon. Point 3. The stage is set for your mantle. The stage is set for your mantle. The stage is set for your mantle. I don't know if you've ever been to the Grammys, but this is going to be a Grammy award-winning year for you. I'm talking about consecutive accomplishments. And you're mad at people who didn't let you on their stage in the past. But the Lord said that their stages were not big enough for you. And God said I had to set the stage because when you get on the stage has to support my glory. And I don't know who this is for, but the Lord said you got a lot of people that don't want you on their stage. They don't want you on their stage. They don't want to showcase. They don't want you to be on there. because they know when you get on the stage, you represent authenticity. You're pure, you're real, you're genuine. And so maybe that's why God shut the door on all those other stages, because he was building one for your mantle. And while we're talking about stages, when did we fall in love with the gift and exempt character from the stage? The Lord said very clearly here that the season is over with where we celebrate people's gifts on the stage, but bypass nasty private character. In fact, for many of you, it is good character that's going to open up your stage. You can be gifted from all outdoors. You can be anointed. You can be special. You can be creative. You can be influential. You can attract people. But if your character is bad, you don't deserve a stage. Go in the back where folk can't see you. But God ain't about to display nothing like that. The stage is set for your mantle, not your mess. The stage is set for your mantle, not your mess. The stage is set for your mantle, not your mess. And if you think the stage is being set for your mess, then you don't deserve one. When did we start allowing people with messy lives to be on the stage? I'm not talking about worldly people. I'm talking about believers and Christians. Just living messy, all on the stage, living messy. And the stage was never set for your mess, it was set for your mantle. You got to come to the realization where folk just ain't going to like you because you don't play around with the stage. You don't take it for granted like the stage owes you. Like you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. Like you're the one that need to be featured. You take the stage serious. And so a lot of people are going to shun you because they're going to know when you get on the stage, you are going to change the world. And you better believe it. And in the B clause of 14, it says, when Joseph had shaved and changed his clothes, he came before Pharaoh. Let me give you point 4. My style should reflect my gift. My style should reflect my gift. My style should reflect my gift. Pharaoh knew that what Joseph had on was not a reflection of his gift. So he told him to shave and change clothes so he could look like what he heard about him. I'm going to need y'all to start looking like what people said about you positively. Just because you're stressed don't mean you got to look like stress. Just because you're angry don't mean you got to look angry. Just because you're in a breakup don't mean you got to look like a breakup. You need to look like where you're headed. And Pharaoh says, we don't recognize prison number 9472 because we're in the palace now. So you need to look like where you're going. Look like business. Look like you do ministry. Look like your song is number 1. Look like, come on, somebody. Look like you can counsel. Look like something you got something to offer. Look like somebody that's headed somewhere. Can I say this? I'm gonna need I'm gonna need a lot of you to stop over spiritualizing laziness. Stop over spiritualizing laziness. If God tells you to start looking like where you're headed and get up and do something, you cannot over spiritualize it and say it ain't my season. Or God ain't speak to me yet, or God hasn't told. That's over spiritualizing what you need to be doing. That's laziness covered in foolishness. Get your hips up, make something happen with your life, make an impact, make a change, but you will no longer over spiritualize what you could have got done this year. Oh, Pastor, I'm not preaching nowhere because God didn't tell me nothing yet. He didn't tell you nothing, and 365 days a year, he didn't tell you nothing? Not one word? Oh, you over spiritualizing this now. You just lazy. You over spiritualizing the fact that you're lazy. Somebody shout, get up and do something. Go. Get up and do something. Get up and do something. Get up, go. Get up and do something. Get up and do something. I'm just sitting up here waiting for the Lord to give me something. I'm waiting for him to tell me when to move. I'm waiting. You've been waiting for 5 years. He ain't said nothing yet. You're just lazy. And y'all don't want to hear this. You have just laid down at your guard and your standard, and you are now just waiting and waiting and maybe if you move, it'll happen. This is why Jesus said to the invalid, the paralytic man at the pool of Bethesda, do you want to be made well? Because at some point, if you've been here 38 years, then that means you had 38 attempts. That means you must have stopped at the first attempt. Because if you haven't gotten in the pool with 38 chances, then it ain't everybody around you. It's that the people who won't support you. It's that people won't help you in. The fact is that you just stopped having that effort to get up. And you will no longer over spiritualize laziness. And so finally, we get to verse 16. And he says, Pharaoh says, 15, I heard you can interpret dreams. And in verse 16, here's Joseph's response. Joseph replied to Pharaoh, I can't interpret dreams, but God will give you the interpretation you desire. Point 5, I'm done. When God releases you, don't ever forget he sent you. When God releases you, don't ever forget he sent you. You have a release date. And it's January 1st. Because number one, I produce some of my best music in Bondage. 2, people have been falling in love with my mixtape. 3, the stage is set for my mantle. 4, my style should reflect my gift. 5, when God releases you, don't ever forget he sent you. I prophesy over everyone listening now and declare that my release date is January 1st. You must understand that your time is coming. This is why you need to be in Atlanta March 7th through the 9th for the Hope for the City Conference. The Davids are coming. And it's going to be a bunch of us in one room that will be released to change the world. You can even go register now at thehopenation.com. Whatever you do, sacrifice, get in the room, baby. It's going to be life-changing. Hope for the City Conference Atlanta, March 7th through the 9th. You can register now at thehopenation.com. Repeat after me. Say, Father, in the name of Jesus, I ask you into my heart as Lord and personal Savior to renew and to guide me. Satan, I denounce you. You got no power, no authority over me. Jesus, I now live for you. You just said that prayer, you're now saved. Somebody else saying, Pastor Dwight, I need a church home. I want to join your church, the Generation of Hope Church. You can simply join now by typing Hope in the City to 844-265-1520. Type Hope in the City to 844-265-1520. And there are those of you saying, Pastor Dwight, how can I sow into this word? This was my word today that my release date is January 1st. You can sow a couple ways, $ Generation of Hope. $ Generation of Hope. Or if you desire to sow a personal seed, you can sow at $ Pastor Dwight B. Jr. That's $ Pastor Dwight B. Jr. Zelle, BucknerDwight@yahoo.com. BucknerDwight@yahoo.com. I need at least 10 of you on here today, just 10. That would say, Pastor Dwight, man, I'm going to register for the conference today. I want to be a part of what God's doing. I am David. Go to thehopenation.com and get your ticket today. You need to be in the room. All right? I love you guys. I'll see you soon.